A good afternoon to the viewers, and you are welcomed by an electrifying war cry by the St John's College boys. It is an encounter between St John's College up against St Benedict's. My name is Simpiwe Nkosi, and I'm not alone in this commentary. I am with Sfiso Nyawo.
Yes, indeed. Thank you there, Simpiwe. It is indeed a fine evening here on Burger Field at St. John's College with the boys from both sides having just run onto the pitch. It should be a really entertaining clash today, Simpiwe. Looking at the record of both sides, we've seen both sides have played 5 games against each other in past times, with St. John's coming out with 3 victories and to St. Benedict's 2 victories. So today we're in for quite a battle.
Absolutely, Sfiso. Look, the St Benedict's boys will definitely look to equal this one this time, with St John's being up top. Welcome back, viewers, and how was a great welcome, Swiso, with the national anthem on a lovely youth day. As far as the St. John's is concerned, with regarding to the lineup, I've got Ruben Engelbrecht at 15, Thomas Kilborn at 14. With the centre pairing, we've got Jake Montgomery, Will Davies, vice captain, who's now come back from his shoulder injury. At 11, Cameron Langacher, Bismarck Oliveira at 10. At scrum off, the young man Marco Bate. And down at the forwards, we've got Ntokozo Dlamini in the front row, Tane Walker replacing James Ives, Daniel Archer, the main man, the captain, Alexander Groves, Luke Whitehouse at 5, Brendan Henwood at 6, Thomas Moniba on the right flank. Sviso, how's it looking on the St. Benny side?
St. Benny's are led by their fly half, Tsepo Pohole. But looking at their starting 15, we have Nathan Carey at loose head prop. At hooker, we got Dylan Hoffman. And at number 3, Charlton Monakali. And at lock, we've got Emi Hlekwabe. And his partner is Ross Odonogo. And the number 6 is Marcel Pretorius, with number 8 being Datsun Wolford, and the other flanker being Joshua Oliveira. And then when it comes to the scrum off, we've got Tian de Klerk, with of course Captain Tepo Pohole as the number 10. The number 11 is Lesejo Mudisane. The centers are Tino Wanza and Bradley Nenzo. And then the number 14 is Tyron Bellingham, and Fabio Morengo completes the back 3 at fullback. The game is currently underway now, and it is St. John's currently in possession in their half. So we're looking for a big clash today, Simpure. It's a clash of the Saints.
Definitely, Sviso. I mean, these two sides have battled this season. You've got St. Benedict's, who've lost 11 games, who've only won 4 games out of 11 games, and looking to come back to their winning ways. Losing narrowly to Kersney College just a week ago, Sviso.
Yes, no, definitely they will be looking to actually get onto winning ways. But St. John's are the more fortunate of the two sides today, after having come from a good win. And it is an early drop goal attempt by St. Benedict's, but it doesn't look like it's gone over. It's gone way to the side. And St. John's look to take the 22 drop off really quickly, but they hold on. And it does look like it's Bismarck Olafia there to get things going again. And he's kicked it up just over the 40-meter line. And the collection is good by St. Benedict's. St. John's currently with the possession, but it does look like Brandon Henwood has knocked it on, and it is a scrum just over the 40-meter mark to St. Benedict's, the visitors here today. Looks like the boys are getting quite excited seeing that drone fly around. It's impure.
Yeah, definitely, Swiss. I mean, this is a lost game of the season for St. John's College. Guys would like to finish up strong, and obviously with all the support behind them, we see all those executive staff of St. John's, they're all out in numbers and supporting the boys. It looks like we've got a restart of the scrum there, and obviously with the game being adjudicated by the Lions ref, Hernes Kutsia.
And it is St. Benedict's put in. And again, it looks as if the ref has decided to go for a reset of the scrum. It's always tricky with your first few scrums. I know as a forward it was really tough in the opening stages of the game to really get that scrum right. So it's, especially in the front row, it's a very crucial position, especially with your props and your hooker.
Absolutely, Sfiso. When it comes to set pieces, you got to get the basics right. And we've got St. Benny's getting the ball out wide with that number 14, Tyrone Billingham. Great carry by the young man. Ball recycled quickly by St. Benedict. Looking strong.
St. Benedict's have looked quite strong here, Simpiwe, at the start. Really looking to pin St. John's back into their half, but it is St. John's who actually are eventually given a penalty after it was seen that St. Benedict's player was holding onto the ball. And Bismarck Olafia will now try take St. John's back into the St. Benedict's half. And it's kicked straight into the St. Benedict's boys crowd there. And it actually seems to make them a bit louder with their chants. Definitely going to be hard to hear those line-out calls from there, Simpiwe.
Definitely, Sfiso. But Sfiso, just going back to your point, what I liked about St. Benedict, they've definitely started the game on the high. Intensities are high, trying to put St. John's on the back foot. St. John's managing to secure the own ball in the line-out. Oh, but rather a knock-on by the jumper, Alexander Groves. This is the 8. 10 men yard, to be exact.
And it is another scrum. Sunround St. Benedict's do get the puts in just inside their half, so it's a good opportunity for them to escape. And it's Tane de Klerk who plays it out, and it's looking good. And it is a beautiful tackle by Jack Montgomery there, defending well for St. John's as St. Benedict's continue to try get back into the St. John's half. And it is Captain Tsepo Pohole who dips one through, but unfortunately Ruben Engelbrecht knocks it on. But the referee does play advantage as St. Benedict's continue to hold possession of the ball. It is Tsepo Pohole again who plays a lovely pass into Tyrone Billingham. St. Benedict's are looking quite good here so far.
100% Sfiso.
Captain Tsepo Pohole there unfortunately throws a wayward pass, which does give St. John's the possession back and allows them to threaten and go forward. And there's Tane Walker there with a powerful drive, which he sets up nicely for Michael Bate to kick up for Fabo Marengo, who then looks to kick St. John's back into their half.
You know, Sfiso, at this stage, I think the boys need to show a lot of patience, a lot of the 50-50 passes that's going on between both sides. At this early stage of the game, it's very, very paramount that patience is key.
No, definitely Simpiwe. We can see currently at the moment a little bit of argy bargy there. The old schoolboy. They definitely enjoy that. But it is St. John's with a lovely line out, looking to drive it up. St. Benedict's are defending, but St. John's do manage to push it forward and set up a ruck. But unfortunately do end up losing the ball to St. Benedict's, who are awarded a scrum just over 40 meters out. Another opportunity just to reset for St. Benedict's and get their plan right, maybe get their backs running.
Yeah, of course, at this stage, Sfiso, it would be good to try and combine and see what options you may play in a set piece, just to test the opposition, you know, to the max and see what we have here.
And it is St. Benedict's put in. with Tian de Klerk putting in and playing it to Tsepo. And it is a tackle by St. John's there, but he seemed to have tackled the player without the ball. Bradley Nenzo there tried to collect the pass, played out to him, but unfortunately he couldn't handle it. But St. John's were quickly on to rush defend, managing to actually get a scrum out of it.
Absolutely, Sviso. That rush defense by St. John's College, very good. Guys are switched on, managing to get some mistakes out of the St. Benedict's chaps.
And definitely, it's going to definitely boil down to mistakes today. If the team that makes the less number of mistakes obviously does end up having a better chance of actually going on to secure the victory. But at the moment, things are still deadlocked at 0-0 between St. Benedict's and host St. John's. And it is Bates who collects from Olafia. And then unfortunately the pass from Olafia does go wayward just behind some of his teammates.
Obviously at this stage we saw a lot of nerves, still out there, still need to settle in, they need to be calm and just be very patient and weather things through.
No, it'll definitely come together just now. But at the moment it's looking like quite a tight contest, with both teams just edging into each other's halves, but with no real threats coming in. And it is a St. John's puts in, with Michael Bates feeding it in, and it is a lovely darting run there by St. John's, attacking very well on the right hand side of the pitch. And it is Bates who does play it to Whitehouse, who eventually manages to get to ground. Bates again quickly dummies, and he plays it to Ruben. Good play so far by St. John's.
Yes, we saw great play between the backs and forwards. Forwards giving really ball to the backs, Backs waiting eagerly to spread the ball wide. We've got Wood Davies. Ball secured safely by St. John's. And Togo's coming out to the wing, getting the ball out wide. Ruben cutting off his shoulder. And it's a penalty to St. John's College, adjudicated by Sia. Obviously, we saw St. David's St. Benedict rather. Backs showing some real discipline there, not managing to stay on his feet there.
Yes, no, definitely, and it is what we spoke about earlier, the mistakes again that are starting to cost St. Benedict's. And it looks like St. John's are going to look to have a kick at goal. Especially in such a tight game like this, it is important to actually get points on the board rather than taking risks, especially so early on, just to keep that scoreboard pressure on.
It's very important so to keep the.
But no, they look like they have actually opted to go for the line, and it is a lovely kick in the corner. So it'll be interesting now how the line out sets up, with obviously the maul being a big option to actually try push the St. Benedict's boys right back and try to get over that try line.
St. John's obviously backing themselves, wanting to go for maximum points. Going back to your point, Viso, on keeping the scoreboard ticking.
And it
very
is a well
important
worked
in the early stages.
But it looks like St. John's do still have possession of the ball in a very, very dangerous position. And there's a quick pick up and bash. St. Benedict still maintain their defense very well. And it does look like St. John's are opting to use their forwards to edge just closer to that try line and keep the pressure on the St. Benedict's defenders. It's looking really tough out there, St.
Yes, we saw look.
Especially as soon as you get into that territory there, it seems to get extra hard to actually really gain those extra meters.
Look, we saw the St Benedict's guys are really looking strong around the fringes, strong in the rucks. St John's obviously trying to play that slow ball with the big forwards, but not managing to get that right. It does look like St Benedict's have been able to turn it over. See, we saw. It goes back to the point that you spoke about regarding keeping the scoreboard ticking in the early stages of the game. And we've got St John's not managing to get the maximum points that they were opting for. These are the times that will let you down when you look back later in the stages of the game.
Yes, no, definitely. Maybe it would have been a wiser decision to just get the first few points on the board quickly, just to put the opposition side under a bit of pressure, especially playing at home. You know, you've got that bit of added advantage with the crowd definitely on your side, the majority of the crowd, I should say. And it is a lovely line out there by St. John's. Oh, has been intercepted by Tsepo, the St. Benedict's captain, who eventually runs over the line and scores under the sticks to give the visitors the first score. And it is a 5-pointer with the conversion waiting. Bit of some risky play there, Simpue.
Very unfortunate and very unlucky for the vice captain, Walt Davies. These things happen, Swiso. Like I said, should have grabbed the points earlier on and get the scoreboard ticking. But obviously with St. John's, they'll look to come back. They'll need to take that to the chin, heads up, and bring it back.
Captain Tsepo Bokole now steps up to convert his own try. And he adds the extra 2 points to give St. Benedict's a 7-0 lead very early on in this game. Now it looks as if St. John's really need to really fight back here. We've seen it in the last home game where St. John's really dug deep to always being able to come back into games.
Yes,
so I don't think it should be anything different today, although opponents do change every week, so you play against what you face on the day.
Of course,
and it is important for them now to switch on and start playing their game and focusing.
And it is St. Benedict's with the ball in. Oh, quick little pass to the wing. Great skills, Fiso. It's good to see young schoolboy rugby players showing us something very dynamic.
Definitely, Simpio. Lesejo Modisane there with a very interesting run, but unfortunately he is pushed into touch. And it is a St. John's line out, which Walker throws in very well. And it is a beautiful drive with St. John's gaining a few meters before the ball's played out to Olafia. Runs, but is tackled just short of the 22-meter line. And it is Bates who does pop a lovely pass. St. John's forwards now are working quite hard to actually try to get over that advantage line. And it's played. St. Benedict's have got the ball now in possession. But it's looked like they're under great pressure. Some lovely passing from the St. John's boys there. Lafia plays it to Groves for Archer picks up and Dorozo. Just that last pass, Simpure letting the St. John's boys down there.
Yeah, great hands by the St. John's boys. You know, great interplay by the forwards and the backs. Obviously, with that final pass, as we saw, it's important to come from depth, you know, being deep enough so that you can run onto the ball, so that you do not, well, reduce the chances of knocking the ball on. It's all about the basics, we saw. Great tackle by the St. John's, number 14, Thomas Kilborn.
Superb. It looks like the little grubbers through the defense have some form of effect, because we've seen it with St. Benedict's captain, Tsepo Pohole, who when given the chance, he does look to grubber it through the defense. And as we've seen now, St. John's also attempting the same thing through Michael Bates.
Like I said earlier, Sviso, at this stage it's important to be very dynamic, bring the unexpected, not always being direct. And St. John's has found themselves in the 22 with a great ball taken in. St. John's looking to get the ball out wide. It is Walt Davies breaking the line.
Unfortunately, it is
unfortunate knock on by Jack Montgomery, but it looks like a penalty has been awarded by Kones Kutsia in favor of St. John's College. So let's see what they can do here with the set piece.
Again, St. John's have opted to go for the corner instead of the poles. So the belief in the team must really be there, Simpue. They really back their lineouts for them to always be going for the corners, which makes sense when you're 7 down, but sometimes you would really look to try and get some points onto the board.
Absolutely. Look, the St. John's side has a very good forward pack, good lineout jumpers. You've got Alexander Groves, who wins absolutely every ball. And it's a try by St. John's College, looking to equal the scores here. It is 7-5, pending the kick of Bismarck Olivier.
Now it definitely makes sense why they've always opted to actually go for that corner, with the belief obviously in their lineouts, as we've seen there from that lovely maul that's just produced a fantastic try there to bring St. John's within 2 points of St. Benedict's. Bismarck Olivier now steps up to try add the extra 2, just to level matters here on Burgerfield. Olivier sizes it up. It looks good. No, unfortunately he has missed that one. And St. Benedict's remain in the lead, but now with the score at 7-5. It continues to be a great fixture, Simpue. Looking really tight now, and now the home side are able to actually claw their way back into this one.
Absolutely, Sviso. I think all the nerves have settled down now. Looking at the past games in the previous years, these scores have always been a win that's been narrow for both teams. So we do have a game here today.
Most definitely, these are what derbies are about. Tight matches, nice competitive matches as well. Always great to watch, especially at schoolboy level. That's a wonderful take there by St. Benedict's. Try to set it up again. Set up a ruck. Tsepo Pohole does opt to use the boots again, putting St. John's under pressure. But it's a lovely run. That is played to Jack Montgomery, who does try to fend off a few defenders before playing it to Will Davies. St. John's now in a great position, just sneaking into the St. Benedict's 22-meter area. This Tane Maynard with the big run. Captain Archer picks up, twists and turns, and falls in the St. Benedict's 22-meter area. St. John's now looking rejuvenated after scoring that try, Simpure.
Okay, and it is a penalty in favor of St. John's College, with St. Benedict's showing some ill discipline, not maintaining the basics and getting those right. Swiso.
Well, no, definitely now it will be interesting because it's in a more kickable position, and it does look like the half man has
Come
decided
onto the
to come
pitch
onto
again.
the pitch and to give the cone for a kick to the full poles.
St. John's College with Bismarck Olifree lining the ball up, looking to take the lead for the first time in this game. And it's over. Bismarck Olifree managing to take the lead to 8-7. Swiso, we've got ourselves a game here.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a game, especially looking at the clock now. There's only 10 minutes left in this half. So it should be a really good contest in these last 10 minutes, with both sides who will probably not look to give too much away now. But the home side will definitely be the more confident out of the two, especially after just scoring a try and then converting that penalty there. But it is St. Benedict's who get the kickoff undergoing, and Jack Montgomery collects, manages to brush off two defenders before being tackled. St. John's do manage to set up a ruck, which Olafia plays, dabs through and chases. St. Benedict's quickly collect and clear their lines, but unfortunately doesn't get to touch, with Will Davies picking up and playing to Dogozo. Michael Bates does try a little shimmy pass, but he doesn't make it through. Defended pretty well.
That was very good combinational play by the back three of St. Benedict's, managing to get themselves out of the 22, but obviously struggling to get that. Oh, and it looks like there's a big scuffle on the pitch there, Sviso. Fists being thrown around. A lot of animosity being shown on the pitch there, Sviso. What do you make of this, Sviso?
The boys really showing their passion for the game out there. But sometimes it does boil over, and they forget to actually that it's about the rugby. It's not too much. You shouldn't get too much involved physically outside the bounds of the game. Keep it within the game, the rules of the game.
Definitely within the spirit of the game.
The referee there will definitely give a few talking tos, and it does look as if that big man Groves was walking towards the referee, and the referee at the moment is consulting his touch judge to see who he will need to chat to.
I think at this stage the ref will give,
And
not
it is
messing the
Groves
game up.
who has been called forth, with Captain Daniel Archer also stepping up to hear what the referee's got to say. And it does look like the referee is reaching for his pocket, and he has given both players yellow cards. Discipline, letting both sides down here, Superior, especially at the crucial stage, just under 8 minutes till half time.
Very unfortunate, Swiso. I mean, getting yellow carded at this stage of the game, it is a crucial time. It's important that both teams remain calm and don't get into any of that stuff, because now it changes the whole dynamic of the team now. You've got your speedster now getting a yellow card, your best lineup jump on the pitch off as well, so it changes everything. The experience of the both captains will be very important here.
No, it's good that the referee has called for both captains to actually have a quick chat with their teams, just to sort out that discipline. But it is a scrum now, and it is a St. Benedict's ball. just inside the St John's half. Both sides now playing with 14 men on each side. And it is St Benedict's who unfortunately knocked the ball on, with Captain Tepo Bogolo failing to handle a pass there and eventually knocking on, giving St John's a scrum now just inside the St Benedict's half. This is a great opportunity, St. to actually try to set something out from this here. Maybe get the backs running, unleash the backs, because we've seen some very exciting runs from Jack Montgomery and the likes of Ruben Engelbrecht.
Definitely, Sviso. I think the forwards have had their fair share. They've done very well, giving the backline some clean ball. Let's now see some more interplay between the forwards and the backs. Definitely. We've got Jack Montgomery, who's a very talented player, strong runner, very good handoff and good shimmy and a good step here and there. I think they need to play now.
No, definitely. That's what they really need to do, is just play their hearts out, especially with just 5 minutes left on the clock. These are the crucial parts of the game, especially when the scoreline is there's just a 1 point difference, Simpue.
I think at this stage, patience is key, Sviso. From both sides, you've got 2 men down on a yellow card. So being patient and not conceding any points is important here. And come back second half on a fresh note, game of 2 halves.
Yeah, and it does look like St. John's have given away another scrum after Captain Daniel Archer knocked the ball on there. He apologizes to his teammates, as I'm sure most of them wouldn't want to be scrumming now, especially at this part of the game, because scrumming does take quite a lot of energy out of you.
Of course. But Charles Viso, that's why the guys are conditioned and built to do it. When you get that chance in the game, that's the only chance you have to scrum, so you need to shine. And if you've just tuned in, we are streaming live, courtesy of St. John's College. It is an encounter up against St. Benedict's and St. John's. You've got St. Benedict's playing from the left to the right of your screen in the white striped jersey, and St. John's College playing from right to left. Please do engage with us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook and Instagram.
The score at the moment is St. John's leading St. Benedict's 8 points to 7. So Ruben Engelbrecht there under a lot of pressure to try clear his lines, but he has fortunately been awarded the line out. Well, correction, actually it is St. Benedict's who get a thrown into the line out.
St. Benny is with a short line out. So we saw they will look to capitalize here on the set piece, bearing in mind that they are close to the 22-meter area of the St. John's half. And it is St. John's managing to secure that ball. Michael Bates with a little step there. And it's an unfortunate knock-on by the young Brendan Henwood. Harnes Kutsia bringing both captains, having a chat with them about the ill discipline of both sides. He's definitely not going to have it in the second half, Suso. And it is
does
half-time.
look like he has called half-time, and it is St. John's College, the hosts, leading St. Benedict's 8 points to 7 going into the break. St. Pio, it should be a very interesting second half with both sides under a lot of pressure to try and keep the scoreboard ticking, of course. So it should be an a really, really tight one as well. I really anticipate a really tight one, especially after the
100%, Sviso. This is where obviously they've lost 2 players. Now they need to go down to the drawing board and see how they can bring a different dynamic to the game.
We get up now for the start of the second half. And it is Bismarck Olafia getting ready to kick off to St Benedict's. St John's do lead this game 8 points to 7 at the moment, so it is a rather tightly contested derby. A real classic, Simpure.
Absolutely. It is a classic. It is going to be a tight game, as we saw. I mean, there is a deadlock of 8 to 7. They will look to be patient in the first quarter of this second half and see what can they bring to the game. It is Will Davies with the ball in. Brendan Henwood pumping those legs, looking to get over that try line. And it is ball out by Bates. Jack Montgomery over the try line, and it is try. Great reaction by the St John's players. Brilliant by the number 13, Jack Montgomery, leading his side by 13 points to 7, penning the kick of Bismarck Olafia.
No, definitely Simpure. That was some interesting play there. St. John's did respond very quickly. Clearly their coach did get stuck into them there and instructed them to do things a certain way, and it must have paid off then with that great start. Olafia now steps up to try add another 2 and take it to 15 points. As it stands, it is still 13-7 to St. John's. Olafia steps up. Looks good. Touch judges like it. It is a good one. Score now is 15 points to 7 after that conversion by Olafia.
That was great awareness by the vice captain, Will Davies. They've obviously spoken about it and they've noticed that the number 10 of St Benedict's is a dynamic player, is the man who will kick the ball every time he's got ball in hand. And St John's has managed to capitalize on that, managing to turn that ball over. Ball in by St John's, Jack Montgomery. St Benedict's looking to turn that ball over, with Bismarck Olafia clearing his lines, and ball taken in safely by the number 15 Marengo Fabio of St Benedict's.
St. David's do keep possession of the ball, but it is quickly stolen by St. John's. And it's Tane Walker. Eventually played to the backline. Archer does pass it through quickly to Will Davies, who does eventually swing it to Ruben Engelbrecht, who unfortunately fails to connect with Cameron, and the ball is pushed out. It is now a line out to St. Benedict's.
St John's have managed well. Have managed to react very well, as we saw, to the transition, from attacking into defense, turning that ball over. Just that final pass at the end there, as we saw.
No, definitely that final pass did let them down yet again. And it's St. Benedict's now with a throw-in. Throw looks like a good one. It is a good one, and it is a more set up, as the St. Benedict's boys do. Look to drive it forward. Seems to be working very well. I remember so fondly recently when St. John's did take on the noisy neighbors, Cares, recently. It was the same mistakes of the Moors actually punishing St. John's. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember that clearly, as we saw. St. Benedict's has obviously have done their homework. They've obviously seen that game against Cares, which was fortunate for me to be there. And you've got St. Benedict's in the front foot, putting pressure on the St. John's. And you've got Ntokozo Dlamini managing to pounce at that ball as it popped out of there. Did look a bit from the side there, but from where we are, it's quite hard for us to see that.
Oh, definitely, but at this level, players are definitely always coached just to play till the whistle goes, of course. You never know your luck. And it is a lovely kick there for St. John's, managing to make great ground straight back into the St. Benedict's half to set up a line out. Does look as if the referee has recalled the yellow carded players. So both sides are back to 15 each.
I see the players that have been sent off have come back.
It will definitely make a huge difference for St. John's in that line out, especially with the tall man like Groves. And it's a beautiful lineup by St. Benedict's, who played wide through their backs, and it's a lovely run and offload straight to Fabio Marengo for St. Benedict's. Fabio Marengo, who's eventually tackled very well just inside the St. John's 22-meter area, but St. Benedict still live to carry on attacking. The ball is played now. It's in a very dangerous area for St. John's, with St. Benedict's in possession at the moment, just inside the St. John's 22-meter area. St. John's boys, however, are managing to keep that short ball out. But St. Benedict's do eventually look to run the ball wide. And it is the captain, Tepo Ohole there.
St. John's College looking very strong at ruck. Oh, and it's an unfortunate, yet another knock-on by St. Benedict's. Referee turning it over and awarding a penalty to St. Benny's. Obviously, they've managed to apply a lot of pressure.
St. Benedict still in possession and looks to edge closer to that try line. And they are right under the sticks now. The pressure continues. As St. David's still look to keep it within their forwards, which is probably a much better option, and it does look like St. Benedict's have scored their try right next to the uprights. The score now has changed to 15-12, with St. John's still in the lead. But of course, we do still await the conversion that's still to come. Incredible there, Simpiwe. It's just St. Benedict's there definitely.
They've definitely done very well, Sviso. I see ever since they got into that 22 area of the St. John's half, they've been able to be very patient, phase by phase play, and getting some slow ball in between the forwards, and eventually getting the try. Very good start for them in the second half, and managing to come back. And that is over by the young man Morengo Fabio. Fly half Pohole Tepo rather. And it is 15 points to 14 in favor of St. John's College.
You know, Simpiwe, at the moment, things are looking like St. Benedict's are just capitalizing on St. John's mistakes at the moment, especially leading up to that try. Of course, St. John's conceding yet another penalty in a very crucial place. And that was a lovely take there for St. John's to keep it alive. as the St. John's boys now looking to edge closer. And as Olafio plays today. Some great defense there by St. Benedict's. It's like he ran into a brick wall there, Simpure.
St. Benedict's managing to keep that strong forward. 10 men yard up off his feet, taken in by Tane, and the referee awarding a scrum to St. Benedict's. It does look like the big man Daniel Archer on the far end of the pitch. He's on the ground. I think he's took a knock there. Struggling to get up. I wonder if he'll be able to carry on with the game. That would be a huge blow for the St. John's team. Because this man is a hell of a captain.
It looks like the two St. John's players actually currently struggling with a bit of injury. Play has currently stopped as medics are looking to nurse the players back to health.
I think it does look like
Daniel
our
Archer.
man Daniel Archer. It might be done for him for this game. Very unfortunate for the young man. You know, he is currently in matric, and this is his last game that he has or has ever played now for St. John's College.
He'll of course be very disappointed there, Simpure, that he won't be able to finish this clash. But it does look like his teammates will need to step up here now, because at the moment it is a rather close fixture, with St. John's of course still leading 15 points to 14. With still quite a bit of time left on the clock, so anything could still happen in this game. At
Definitely.
the moment, St. Benedict's do have an opportunity to clear their lines with the scrum just outside their 22-meter area. And it is Tian de Klerk who feeds. And it is immediately played out wide. Tyron Bellingham with a good run, but is eventually tackled. Forward ball again for St. Benedict's as they continue to back their backline. But unfortunately they eventually lose it. And it is Jack Montgomery who picks up for St. John's. Manages the turnover. Michael Bates plays it straight out again. And it is Tane Maynard. He runs in, but it is tackled. Michael Bates hits again, tries again, but Whitehouse unfortunately can't keep the ball in hand. But it does look like the referee was playing advantage there, and the scrum has been awarded to St. John's. A good opportunity now to actually try and get something from this Simpure.
Definitely. But like we said earlier, Sfiso, this game, the difference here will be minimal mistakes. The team that shows less mistakes will be the team, for me, to win this game. We've seen both sides with showing some great attack, but obviously that final pass, not getting it quite right. That was great passage of play by the St. Benedict's backline, but that final pass just being skewed wide.
Oh no, definitely Simpure, and it's looking at in this game so far we've had quite a few scrums, which is something I'm sure that most of the forwards must be dreading. But St. John still continue to throw wayward passes, with this time Michael Bates almost giving away an intercept. But it is Groves, plays it to Walker, and it is Henwood who's eventually tackled. It's looking really messy at the moment there, Simpure.
Yes, we saw at the moment 50-50 passes, the structure not looking quite right. At this stage, I think patience will be key. I think St Benedict's will look to clear their lines, and get their guys calm. Oh, and a big scuffle on the other side of the school with some of the boys being involved. Yet another scuffle there, Sviso. Would be quite interesting to see how the ref will adjudicate this one. And that's if the line assistant referee has seen everything. A lot of aggression out there.
Definitely. The boys really showing that it's their last game, really taking the term fighting to heart here.
Some very unfortunate scenes there, as we saw. I see a couple of the St. John's staff members getting themselves out there trying to mediate the situation. I think at this stage, even the supporters need to do what they do best and spectate. Let the aggression be handled by the players in the spirit of the game.
No, definitely Simpure, but I'll tell you this right now, that I'm pretty sure the forwards are definitely grateful for this little break, especially after so much scrumming that's happened throughout this game so far.
I mean, there's been a total of 11 scrums at the moment, which obviously is an indication of all the handling errors that have occurred throughout the game. I see with St. John's being awarded three scrums and St. Benedict's awarded 8 scrums. It's definitely been quite a messy one, as we saw.
Yes, no, definitely Simpure, and it's been from both sides, with some passes actually going very wayward. St. John's who have often taken the risk in the back line of almost again being caught with an intercept. So they'll really need to tidy that up, especially in a tight encounter like this. An intercept at this stage of the game could really put the other side under a lot of pressure. So at this moment of the game, this game could still go to anyone, really.
And it is a scrum in favor of St. Benedict's. Deep into their own 22.
Looks like it is yet another reset. Maybe it is a bit of an indication of scrumming too much there. Really struggling to get those scrums going off that first call. But it is St. Benedict's who put in Tian de Klerk with the feed. And he does play it to Tepo Bohole. The ball is eventually played wide, but it is a knock-on, and it is in a very nice place for St. John's. A good opportunity now to actually get onto the scoreboard, but it is another scrum, giving the backline maybe an opportunity to run again at the St. Benedict's defense.
This St. John's backs have been very good today. They run the ball very well, and this is definitely a good opportunity for a strong backline like them to get some points on the board.
Well, definitely a good run from the likes of Jack Montgomery would be a great option right now, especially because it's so close into the St. Benedict's try line.
And ball in by Michael Bate. Great scrum by the forwards. And Jack Montgomery, just going short of Wall and missing that pass. And it is St Benedict's gaining territory. Great take by the vice captain, Walt Davies, who's now taken over the duties of Daniel Archer.
St. John's
St.
now
John's.
look to find their way out of their own 22-meter area now. Bates does look to just dab it over, and looks as if it's a good kick, as his supporters here do acknowledge it, with St. John's right back into the St. Benedict's half.
And it does look like Cameron Langacher of St. John's College is down with a knock. And it is looks like it is a line out in favor of St. Benedict's. That was a great clearance kick by Bismarck Olivier of St. John's. St. John's College on the front foot. Deep in the 22 of the St. Benedict's half. It is Will Davies. Jack Montgomery with a little shimmy, a little step there. Great run. Is he over? And it's a try by Jack Montgomery.
A beautiful try at that, Simpure.
Extending the lead to 20 points to 14. Pending the kick of Bismarck Olivier.
That was a lovely try there, Simpure. Just to really take a bit of the pressure off themselves, St. John's. And they know now that they still need to add a bit more points to actually really be home and dry.
It's definitely been a give and take type of game. We saw St. John's managing to score, and then yet again St. Benedict's reacting to that. So St. John's need to look to keeping the game really tight and try and keep the scoring board ticking. And it is Bismarck Olivier lining that ball up. And that ball being skewed up into the sky, not managing to get the maximum points.
The score now is 20 points to 14 to the home side, St. John's College. With St. Benedict's now looking to get the game underway again. And it is Tepo who does kick off. And St. Benedict's get straight back into it. Simpura, a converted try now by St. Benedict's would see them lead by 1 point.
It would definitely see them lead. It was very important that St. John's should have put that ball in between the sticks. So in a game like this, it's very important to make sure that you get maximum points and you capitalize on every single ball. And it is St. Benny's out on the wing looking to... Is that a try? And
yes,
it's a try.
It has been awarded
By St. Benedict's winger.
Tyron Billingham there with the try. Bringing St. Benedict's within 1 point off St. John's. With the conversion still to come, of course. But it is a rather difficult kick there, Simpure, but that try, exposing St. John's there on the outside.
So we spoke about this earlier on in the game, that this will be a tight game. We've seen in previous encounters, it's always been a give and take, and teams just narrowly winning. Discipline will be important here. And we've got St. Benny's fly half, Tepo Pohole, looking to convert this.
And it is good. And many a St. John supporter won't be too happy with me right now and don't feel that I've possibly jinxed them with saying just a converted try would see them, the St. Benedict's boys, take the lead. And currently it is St. Benedict's now leading 21-20 with just about 8 minutes left in the half. And it's a deep kickoff. St. Benedict's immediately looking to exit. Ball is, however, collected by Thomas Kilborn, who's tackled very well. St. John's now look ever so motivated with Dogozo playing it wide straight to Walker, who collects very well and offloads. But unfortunately St. John's fall just short. The try has. Well, correction, it looks as if St. John's have been awarded a penalty. It'll be interesting to see what they do here. And looks like they have opted to go for the line again. Perhaps for another option of using that maul again.
They'll definitely look for more. They've got Alexander Groves, great lineup jumper. Their mauls have done well the whole game. And looking at the position where they are on the field, I think that would be a good decision. But yet again, St. John's College managing to knock that ball over.
It is St. John's who have been awarded the scrum now, after it looks as if St. Benedict's have knocked that line-out ball on. So it is a scrum in a really great position for possibly Tane Maynard to pick up from the back and just...
Yeah, he's really a tough, strong ball carrier. I'm sure that would make a whole lot of sense. Get some slow ball going with the backs that we have in play.
St. Bates has opted to play it to Olafia, who's unfortunately tackled just short. And it is another penalty to St. John's.
You know, Sviso,
and it looks like
I would definitely go for points here.
No, definitely in such a tight encounter, you definitely have to go take the 3 points. And it looks like that's what St. John's are looking to do, with Ruben Engelbrecht now stepping up.
Definitely a good decision.
No, Bismarck Olafia there rather stepping up to take the penalty in a fairly good position right in front of the poles.
So definitely, Sviso, it's a good decision to take the points, especially in the dying minutes of the game. Keep the scoreboard ticking, receive again, play phase by phase, and look to get extra points.
Yeah, no, definitely, Simpure. And it looks like Bismarck Olafia has done just that, to add that extra 3. Now giving St. John's a 2-point lead, with the score now 23-21 to St. John's. However, game's back on again. But St. John's currently in possession, but with St. Benedict's looking to pressure from a fairly good position.
St John's College will look to clear their lines here, get themselves out of the pressure that they're in at the moment.
They do well to look to clear their lines. Looks like Tyron Billingham there was under a bit of pressure to try keep the ball in off Bismarck Olafia clearance, but unfortunately fails. Instead, possession is given back straight to St. John's, just over the halfway line. Tane Walker now ready himself, and it's a beautiful throw which Tane Maynard collects fairly easy as St. John's sets up a lovely rolling maul. And it keeps going forward, it's looking good. Eventually is broken down. Bismarck Olafia plays to Will Davies, who plays to Jack Montgomery, who looks to fight through and pump his legs, but is eventually put down.
Clayton Pather is now on the pitch, replacing Cameron Langacha, who now has an injury and has gone off. He was looking to obviously get that ball out wide, but was unfortunately dragged out by the St Benedict's winger.
Clayton Pather will definitely be very valuable in this game. I watched him earlier in the second team game with his. He's a really strong boy, good runner with the ball. So you'll definitely add something a bit fresher, even though he's played a full game, but he's had a bit of a breather out watching the boys play.
And it is Jackman.
And it's played out.
Oh.
Unfortunately, it is knocked on. But it was. The referee does call a forward pass first. So it is a scrum to St Benedict. St Benedict survive.
You know, as we saw at this stage of the game, the dying minutes, there is 3 minutes left of the game. The game management from the St. John side will be very important. You know, what they do now will definitely impact the game.
Look.
It is St. Benedict's with the scrum awarded to them.
No, definitely Zimpure. St. Benedict's do feed the ball. Hutian de Klerk playing it and quickly playing it to Tsepo, who again misses his intended target. St. John's quickly gather, but it looks like it has been knocked on yet again. And it is another scrum to St. Benedict's. St. John's will be really happy of where they are right now, specifically on the pitch. Quite deep in the St. Benedict's half. So they'll know that it will take quite a bit of time for St. Benedict's to actually make their way into the danger zone.
Definitely at this stage, no pressure on St. John's. There is 2 minutes left of the game. All pressure on St. Benedict's, who look to play the ball from deep into their own 22. And it's a penalty awarded to St. Benedict's. Ill-disciplined by the young man, Jack Montgomery, being shown the card. And that's the end of him for today, Sviso. Very unfortunate at this late stages of the game.
Yes, no, definitely. That was a very dangerous tackle. Very reckless there by a player like Montgomery, who's been very valuable to the team today. He's definitely left his mates out there to look to fight the last 2 minutes of this encounter with 14 men.
You know, Sviso, in these type of games, especially at this time of the game, it's important as a young man to keep your cool. I mean, earlier on, I did see a couple of scuffles between Jack Montgomery and his opposition number, and obviously trying to prove a point now there towards the end of the game has now costed him a yellow card.
Yeah, no, it is such a shame. I'm sure he would have wanted to end off his schoolboy career being on the pitch. But it is St Benedict's who look to attack again. It's a lovely turnover there. But St Benedict's get the ball back again very quickly. But it does look like a bit of a counter-up, but Ruben Engelbrecht there clears, and it is the game. St. John's College have managed to hold on to the narrow 23-21 victory against St. Benedict's here on Burgerfield. Many of those matrics will be very, very emotional right now, Simpure, especially after playing their last game of the season, and especially their last game for St. John's College.
Of course, this is a special one for them. It was, no matter what the performance was and how it turned out like, it was a special one for the Matrix. Finished the season really strong. Very good to see the likes of Daniel Archer, who's obviously come off really early in the game because of the injury, but I'm sure he'll take this one. Not the best of performances, but they'll definitely take it. And to the viewers, we say thank you and see you next time, and enjoy the lovely youth day with a lot of rugby ahead of us today. Have a good one.
where a drone would be good.
To put it on.
Yeah, you saw Infinity War, so you know the jokes. Oh wow, that looks so cool.
They do it every year.
Ronan, they do it
When we
every
get the
single
home
year.
fixtures, our last game. They did it when we were I was in the move.
Someone's vaping.
Yeah.
Where did they plug? I did it.
Batteries are actually smoking. That is not a circle, that is a squircle.
It's an oval.
It's an, it looks like an eye from here. Think of it like. We are colleges. College. 1, 2, 3, 4. College.
Somebody threw their back shot.